What's up everyone, welcome back to another What If video. Last time, we left up with kind of a twist conclusion. It turns out in the last part, we were covering what happened in the future timeline. The build up to the androids arc was pretty much normal. Goku died, and then the androids attacked, killing most of the Dragon team. And now, only a few members remain, with one of them being Krillin. After witnessing the defeat of Gohan, they were finally able to get the time machine up and running, and get a safe distance away from the androids, allowing Krillin to actually travel back to the past. Now he has a simple goal: cure Goku and warn everyone about the androids. Hopefully, this will change his timeline. Let's set a like goal of 2,500 likes for this video, and once we hit that, I'll continue with another part. Anyways, let's pick up from here. Krillin arrives in the past, and it seems so much more peaceful than it does in his timeline. He has fond memories of when Earth was like this, and he's a little bit saddened by it, but also hopeful. He's sad because he wishes it still was this way, but he's hopeful because he feels he can restore it to this peace. He's thinking over what might actually happen. If he goes back and cures Goku and warns everyone about the androids, does that mean everyone from his time ceases to exist or something? What's gonna happen to him? Is he just gonna disappear into thin air? Or maybe this could be an alternate timeline and nothing could happen at all. Nah, that definitely can't be the case. Krillin thinks over what may happen as he travels over to Kame House. At this exact point in time, he's not sure where he is. And the thing is, he obviously can't conceal his identity, but there's no real need to. For future Trunks in the main story, it was different because if he didn't conceal his identity, he may have not been born. While Krillin here, well, he's already born and an adult, so he's fine. He plans to meet up with his past self, because it would be kinda cool to meet his past self, and he is a good option to talk to. Thankfully for him, a few of the humans are there. Obviously Roshi is there, and Krillin and Yamcha are there as well. He's a little nervous, but he knocks on the door. Roshi answers and he greets Krillin, and then comes to the sudden realization that Krillin is already in his house. And he immediately freaks out and calls Krillin and Yamcha over. He's a little panicked and all he could say is that Krillin's here and he has hair. This is crazy! But really the most crazy thing is that there's another Krillin, and the person who's most shocked of all is present Krillin. Who's this guy and why does he look exactly like him? Is he an imposter, a clone, or is it actually him? Future Krillin is able to explain. He's actually Krillin, but from a while in the future, which explains why he looks a bit older. He tells them he has a lot to explain, and he wants them to call everyone else over here. And of course, when they hear that there's another Krillin, it pretty much instantly confuses everyone and they come over right away. Future Krillin's actually pretty saddened by this. For Trunks, he didn't really get to know these people, he only heard about them before. But for Krillin it's different. He's looking at his dead friends. People who died years ago and he hasn't seen since. Especially with Gohan right there, after what he just witnessed recently. It's a little hard for him to keep his composure. But this is serious business and he perseveres through it. At least a little bit happy to see his friends again. It's pretty bittersweet for him. He explains who he is, why he's here, and what happened in his timeline. 3 years from now, Goku will fall ill to a heart virus. One that doesn't have a cure in this timeline, but in the future, there actually is a cure. And not long after, androids will attack. A pair of twins, 17 and 18, working for the Red Ribbon Army. A real throwback for some people. And of course, everyone wants to know what happened with the other fighters. He doesn't mention Trunks because he isn't born here yet and he doesn't want to mess up this timeline, but he could pretty much talk about anyone else. He, Nappa, and Goten are the only survivors, as well as Bulma. As of now, Goten is still only a young teenager, as opposed to being a baby like he is here. The most recent death was Gohan. And that reminds Krillin. He doesn't really know anything about this, but apparently, there's a transformation that the Saiyans have been able to access. Vegeta and Nappa instantly perk up. And Krillin mentions that Nappa, Gohan, and Goten were able to access it in the future. Sadly, Goku and Vegeta never got to because they died before that happened. Vegeta and Nappa immediately know that this is Super Saiyan. So it really is true. Nappa was able to unlock it when Vegeta died. And Krillin barely knows anything about it because most of it is secondhand experience, but from what he could tell, Nappa was able to access the form through emotional turmoil. Same with Gohan and Goten. And apparently, Gohan even went above Super Saiyan. Or at least Krillin thinks. He wasn't really too sure. It was a little far away to see, but he could tell from Gohan's energy that it spiked and went completely different from regular Super Saiyan. This is obviously a lot for everyone to absorb right now. Not only is Super Saiyan a thing, but apparently there's something like Super Saiyan that's even stronger? Interesting. Krillin sticks around a bit longer, and then he wishes everyone good luck. As long as he's alive by then, in 3 years he's going to return, just so he can make sure everyone's okay. Because for now the group decided to leave the androids alone, which concerns Krillin a bit, but he understands why they're doing it. And because of that, he wants to check up on them later on. He thanks them and returns to his time. For now, he and his group will lay low in the future, still training, but trying to avoid fighting the androids. In the present timeline, training is about to begin. Piccolo ends up training with the humans, trying to keep up with them while he improves as Kaioken, and surprisingly Roshi joins as well. In the past parts I briefly cover this, because after the Saiyan saga, Roshi felt kinda bad about not being able to help, and after realizing the potential of humans, he decides that he actually wants to train as well. Sure, he's a little old now, but it's nothing he can't handle. And this isn't something exclusive to this what if either. In the actual Saiyan saga, Roshi was pretty upset that he wasn't able to help. But here we're going to take that and flip it on its head and have him actually become involved. And as for the Saiyans, they're all going to train together obviously, trying to get stronger on their own, but also trying to figure out if they could do Super Saiyan. Goten's not going to join in because he's still too young at the moment, but this is the first time we'll actually get to see Goku working with Vegeta and Nappa, with Gohan there as well. And over the few years, Vegeta and Nappa actually begin to warm up to Gohan, seeing his potential as a hybrid Saiyan. Especially from what they heard from Krillin, not only was he able to go Super Saiyan, but he went above that somehow? That's completely unheard of. Not to mention Super Saiyan's completely unheard of too. They definitely show some interest in his potential. And since they're so curious about this new form, they want to try and help him unlock it, as well as for themselves. So they're not as bitter towards Kakarot and his son here. It takes a while, but through enough training, Goku's actually able to unlock Super Saiyan first. He's barely able to hold it, but then eventually he starts to get the hang of it. After some intense training, he was able to do it by visualizing what happened in the future. Krillin mentioned something about emotional turmoil, and the second Goku started to put himself through that, it actually started to work a bit. Sure, obviously he couldn't replicate the feeling of his son dying, but just the thought of it alone is enough to set him off. Not to mention all his friends dying alongside him, and with Goku not being able to help at all in the future. And with this image in his mind, Goku's actually going to remember to take his meds later on. That image stays in his head, of him becoming sick and not being able to help anyone. So once he starts feeling symptoms later on, he does eventually end up taking his medicine this time. Good for him, he remembered. And eventually, the other three Saiyans follow suit. It's a little bit harder for them, but they try to imagine their own sort of emotional turmoil. Nappa would probably think about his bromance with Vegeta. And also he'd realize that in the future, he was the first one to go Super Saiyan, and he wants to catch up to his future self and outdo him. Vegeta's sense of emotional turmoil is him also feeling useless, kind of like Goku. He self-destructed, and for what? He doesn't want that to happen here. If he dies, he wants to put up a better fight. And as for Gohan, he's able to imagine Goku and his new younger brother. And of course himself. It seems like he has a lot to live up to. And he views this as a premonition of sorts. If he's not able to do this now, then he's just going to end up dead, and his brother will end up injured. He doesn't want to live like that. So all four of them are able to unlock Super Saiyan. And as for the humans, they make some great progress. I didn't really mention him, but even Chaozu is stronger thanks to King Kai. He can't use Kaioken at insane levels like Piccolo, but he does have it for dire situations. Plus, with all the Zenkais he's got, he actually became noticeably stronger. Sure, not as strong as some of the other humans, but once he turns on Kaioken, he actually can contend with them, which is pretty good. He's actually going to have some use here. Nice. And of course, Tenshinhan seeing his rival get stronger only makes him want to get stronger too. Goku's unlocked some sort of transformation that makes him way more powerful. That's a little unfair. Looks like he's going to have to train harder if he wants to catch up. I guess I kind of do have to power scale here, and if we do, this is what I'd put it as. Goku would most likely be at the top, followed close behind by Vegeta, then Nappa, and then finally Gohan. Then there's a small gap, with Tenshinhan and Piccolo sort of on the same level. Piccolo doesn't have Zenkais, but Kaioken helps him remain very strong, and because of his higher potential, Tenshinhan is actually able to be noticeably stronger. And then there's another gap in power, and I would rank it as Krillin, with Yamcha and Chaozu being on sort of a similar level. And at the bottom would be Roshi. Although he's no slouch, he's way stronger now. So even though he is on the bottom of this list, don't underestimate him. He's made some nice progress, so let's congratulate him. Anyways, the time comes, and the androids attack the city. And things happen like normal. 19 is easily killed, but then Android 20 is able to escape. Except Goku's actually here this time. And with all these people around, it's a little hard for Jiro to actually make it out of here. But from when he spied on everyone earlier on, he realized that there were more fighters here. So he has a new diversion. Seeing how strong the humans are made him want to take a precaution. So now we're going to do something that was inspired by Dragon Ball Legends. Jiro pulls out a remote control, and he presses a button on it. Everyone's a little nervous, not knowing what he just did. But then in the distance, they see what looks like a swarm of birds flying over. Birds? No, it's planes. No, it's Android 19. A bunch of him. Dozens of Android 19 drones come over to the area, ready to assist Jiro while he escapes. And it's a perfect distraction. He's able to go back to his lab and find 17 and 18, while the group has to fight all the Android 19s. But sadly for Jiro, he gets killed by 17 and then they activate Android 16. So now those three androids are activated, but Jiro died. RIP. Meanwhile, the group is holding off the army of Android 19s. For some of them it's a little tough, but for others they get used to not using Energy Blast. And in Super Saiyan they're actually strong enough to fend them off, pretty easily in fact. So they're eventually able to tear through the army, and it seems like it's all over. But they were too distracted and now Jiro escaped. Where did he go off to? And then they notice something in the distance, flying towards them. 3 humanoid figures. What, another small wave of Android 19s? Nothing they can't handle. But as these 3 get closer, the group notices these aren't Android 19s. And then their hearts drop. It's 2 teenagers, and they look like they're twins. Exactly what Krillin described. But who's this third guy behind them? The 3 androids land. And they're pretty happy. Goku's right here. Perfect, they don't even need to search out their target. Without hesitation, they begin fighting, and the group isn't able to hold them off. But they're too preoccupied to create a distraction in order to escape. They need to catch the androids off guard somehow. But then they sense something weird. They sense 2 familiar energy sources, and then one that seems somewhat familiar but they can't really put a finger on it. 3 people yell out to the androids and they turn around. With 2 bright lights appearing, the 3 androids are blinded, and quickly, the group is rushed out of there by these 3 people, since they're told to follow their lead. They can already tell one of them is future Krillin, and then takes a moment but they realize one of them is Nappa, and then a teenage boy alongside them. Is that Goten? Far away from the androids, they all land. As future Krillin reintroduces himself, and Nappa says hi to everyone. Ah, the past version of himself. He seems to be doing well. And Vegeta. Boy is he happy to see Vegeta. But the boy with black hair is pretty silent. Quietly, he makes eye contact with Goku and Gohan, saying nothing but tearing up a bit, seeing his dad and Gohan once again. It then clicks with Goku, as he looks closer at this guy's face. This is Goten, but much older, and Gohan sees it too. This is the most shocking to everyone. With Nappa and Krillin, it's pretty obvious who those guys were, but Goten's still a small kid here, and now they're seeing an aged up version of him, all scarred up and missing an arm. Goten can't think of the words to say, and all he does is hug the 2 of them. He still feels guilt for Gohan's death, and he barely remembers Goku at all, so of course it would be a sad moment for him. Meanwhile, Vegeta's being suffocated as future Nappa bear hugs him, proceeding to shake hands with present Nappa. But mostly Gohan and Goku are just amazed at future Goten, and they could easily tell how he's feeling. But there's no time for a tearful reunion. They could save that for later. The 3 time travelers are caught up to speed, and they've come to a sad conclusion. It appears that the 2 timelines are actually separate. That big green android was never there before, and apparently the group said that there was an army of Android 19s. In the future, there was no android after 18. Well, at least as far as they knew. This is all completely different. Nothing's right. And then Vegeta asks something, kinda as a shocking revelation to the group. He reveals that Bulma's actually pregnant with his kid. Kinda sad for Yamcha, but whatever. And he wants to know, they didn't mention Vegeta's child last time. What happened to the kid? He expects the worst, assuming that he died, but the time travelers explain that they just didn't want to mention it because it might mess up the timeline, and otherwise he could have not been born. Huh, good to know, his son is still alive in the future, and his name's apparently going to be Trunks. Not really a fitting name, but whatever. It looks like he can't argue with Bulma on it. So, what's the next course of action? We'll leave off here for now. So what did you think about this part, and what do you think will happen next? Also, I want to ask, what do you think will happen with Nappa? Will he find a romantic interest? And if so, who will it be? Someone new or someone who already exists in the franchise? Comment below. I'll be sure to check out all your comments to see what you guys think. As always, if you like the video, be sure to drop a like, and let's try to hit that like goal from before. And if you haven't already, why not subscribe, as well as hitting the bell icon to get notified about any future parts of this What If, or any other videos that I upload on my channel. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.